managed and how it is connected to the huger scale. So the center has the high impermeable surface area, as I said before, is the critical area. Then this area is like the Metropolitan Park ring. Then you can see the intensive agricultural land use surrounding this ring. And then you can see the rivers, the main rivers, Ticino River and Ada River. So how can we connect from the center to this large or multi-scalar green network that we have in the regional scale? Okay, so for Forestami, the goal is to plant 3 million of trees and shrubs by 2030, which means the increasing of 16% to 21%. So this is how we are going to deal with it. I mean, we are going to support this goal and link with it. Here, I just place my study area, which is this one, the black one. So it is in the main ring, in the more critical one, the Milano one. And yes, that one. And then here you can see how it is connected with this network that for me is very interesting and very important. That goes from Duomo, the center, and then goes to Parco Vittorio, then to the Piazza Giuseppe Grandi, Piazza, well, this is Viale Corsica, here I did a mistake, and Parco della Ortica, Parco Forlanini, and finally Parco Idroscalo Milano. So basically these spots are in the first ring, which is the more critical one, and this one, the ring 2, where this kind of more metropolitan parks start to appear. So how the proposal I'm going to deal with can play like as a transitional interface to connect all of these spots, no? And okay, here you can see how this green light that is more clear are the potential areas that for Forestami are like crucial to for planting the trees. So, okay, here I did a zoom of it. Exactly, and here you can see more clearly how the green, the darker green are the existing tree canopy tree, but the other ones are the potential areas to start to plant trees and all these green and here I am categories. So the primary, secondary, and tertiary. Basically, what I the reasons or the reasons why I categorize them like this was the first ones, the primary ones are these ones, the Corsica one and the 21 de Marzo one, because they are like the link, the main bone that is connecting this multiscalar dynamic that I just present and mentioned before. And these two transversals that connect, let's say, in a ring also, the whole green network. Then the secondary ones, which are the orange ones, are more in a with a fewer width, but they can play as complementary or connecting the neighborhoods, but very, let's say, with a very good quality also. And the tertiary, which are these ones, they are with a width more narrow, but they happen to have fewer trees, but the architectural quality is very potential in this area. So it's like this contrasting that can merge somehow with the other ones. Then for the ecosystem services, here you can see all of them in all the primary, secondary, and tertiary streets. Here, I choose the Viale Corsica for the proposal. It's the one that has more trees. However, it's like the spot, as you can see here, maybe in this one. Viale Corsica goes from here, to the end, from here to here. So it's very interesting because this place that you can see here, green, is like a street that has 4 lines of trees, and today is not well managed. It's like these 2 layers that I was talking about at the beginning, the shrubs and the herbaceous layers, are not well managed, and also they have not the drainage system is not well designed. So I want to deal with it because it has a very potential, talking from landscaping approach. So okay, this is Viale Corsica, as I mentioned before. And here you can see some of the pictures that we took when we did the survey. So you can see here how there is no shrubs or herbaceous. And also they have this kind of permeable surfaces that are doing nothing here, or that are decreasing the permeability of the surfaces, which are not good for the drainage of water. Here you can see how the roots are starting to conquer more the sidewalk because it's not well designed, no, the space for them, for the trees. So, and here also you can see how the soil is not like on this level, no, above the roots. So it's another thing that we can manage. Here you can also see how the cars are taking all this space, and this space that is taking most of the sidewalk space, because this is supposed to be the sidewalk, no, but people cannot walk here. So how this space that is given to the 3 lines could be enlarged to this extent, to the, let's say, the longitude of the cars, to make more to manage somehow these roots appearance here, and to give more space to the 2 layers that I was mentioning before, the spontaneous nature, and yes, to manage well all the water. And here you can see how this spontaneous nature somehow is happening there in some of the places, some neglected areas. So how can in the proposal manage it and make it formal, no, like for the 3 lines, and that's it. That is the start for now.
Okay, thank you, Alejandra. Very interesting. So I'm waiting for the proposal itself, for the design of a new Viale Corsica, of course, and very nice the introduction, starting from the larger scale and getting into the more punctual situation. Okay, very good. And then next is
Yes.
Han.
Wait, can I show? Okay. Okay. Good morning, everyone. And so the first part is about the dissertation topic. My topic will be the urban ventilation corridors and greening solutions. So my research will focus these content. Like the first thing is about the urban heat island phenomena. So I'm gonna explain what is this phenomenon first, and then I will investigate the role of the street trees in enhancing urban air circulations and cooling effect. And then I will examine how variables such as corridor orientation and canopy densities, also the street width, how these variables influence the microclimate. And then I will propose my guideline to mitigate the urban heat island through urban ventilation corridors and greening solutions for the whole Milan. Yeah, these are just the things that I want to put in the dissertation. I haven't do the detail thing, but yeah, it's gonna be done later. So the first, my area is in the G part, and it's around 3.56 kilometers square, and including some primary street at the borders. The area contains some of the city's busiest transit hubs, and also the most iconic business districts and highest density of neighborhood and some isolated small parks. So it provides the opportunity to link those green fragments into a large ecological network through creating some green corridors along the street. And these are the street list. So there are 112 streets in total in my area, and the primary streets are 21. The second streets are 27. The tertiary streets are 64. And among all of these streets, there are 17 streets are with tree lines, which are shown here in the blue cells. My criteria of the categories. There are 3 categories. For the first primary street, they have dual lanes in both directions, and they experience the high traffic volumes. They connect the key districts such as Loreto Central Station, Turo, and some like Porta Nuova. The second streets, they have the dual lanes, but they have less traffic than the primary street. They serve as the connectors between the primary roads, neighborhoods, and parks. They also have some social and economic significance. For example, in some streets, they have the weekly market, or some streets, they have the commercial stores, commercial activities. So these are features them as a like social and economic value. And for the tertiary streets, they are single lane with lower traffic volume. So they have increased pedestrian presence, and they connect between the secondary street and primary street. These are the table of streets with tree lines. after analyzing this one, I found most streets showing the increasing tree numbers over times. Some shows declines. And there are several streets which has no trees initially, but now they are planted. And the primary streets own more tree lines than the secondary trees or secondary streets or tertiary street. Let's take the Viala della Liberazione and Viala Bianca, these two streets, as an example. As we can see, for most, like the diversities of the street tree species are increased, which is good because it's not only increase the visual variety, but also improve the ecosystem healthy. And after calculating the ecosystematic service values, and we can find that the densities, also we can like marinate with total leaf area. This total leaf area directly influence the ecosystem service output. So the larger area, the more value it can provide. So then we can conclude, we can reach to a conclusion that enhancing tree line and planting larger species can significantly increase the annual value of ecosystem service, and also provide both ecological and economic benefits. These are the QGIS map that I did. For the street of interest, I choose the Piazza Argentina as my interest street, and it's located in the northeast part of Corso Buenos Aires, with shops and restaurants, and it's about 50 meters wide, 90 meters long, 4,350 square meters large. And the metro line M2 has 6 entrances here in the piazza. These are the photos that I took from this field survey. The first thing I saw when I entered the piazza is that in the the pots, there are trash just thrown there carefully, and because of lacking the trash bins in the piazza. There should be some trees in the pots, but as you can see from the picture, some of the pots they already lost the trees, which should be Prunus subhitella. And also the trees left are not in a good condition. And the whole piazza doesn't have much shadow, which lead to absence of comfort. And there are also, I noticed some people, they don't have enough seats to sit, so they just lean on the fence or sit on the ground. Those are the negative points of the piazza. There are also some good points. Firstly, the pavements there are in a very good condition. They have this specific round pattern, and the pavement, I would say, they match with the architectural style of the buildings around the piazza. And also there are some commercial activities like the stalls, the tables, the chairs from the restaurant. They feature the piazza with the vitality. if we see the solar exposure condition of May 30th, we can see in the morning before 2 p.m. there's only the south part of Piazza has the shadow making by the buildings, and from 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. there's no shadow in this piazza, but it's also the most hot time during a day. And after 50:30, there are gradually some shadow coming from the north part, but it's still not enough to cover all the street. These are the map I made to show the before design condition. Yeah, as you can see, there are many stores, commercial shops in this area. So we can imagine if you come here to shopping, to relax, but if there's no much shadowing or no much cooling thing, you wouldn't want to stay here for a longer time. You just want to leave or just go to a restaurant, go to gelato, eat some, go to the gelato shops to stay inside, not in the piazza. These are the proposal. So the things I want to do, firstly, to make the whole piazza paved with the same pattern that are using now in the piazza. This kind of pattern. The round pattern. Which means it's gonna restrict the traffic flow, and the cars coming here, they will slow down their speed and gradually, slowly moving forward, and to in that case, the peoples here can have a more opportunity to stay in the whole area, to walk around, to stay here for a longer time. And also for making more shadowing, also for the cooling effect, reduce the cooling effect, increase the cooling effect, I would plant the tree lines in the middle of the pattern, and in under some of the tree, I will create a small round garden with the furniture, the urban furniture for people to sit. And the reference pictures will be on the left. So it's gonna look like this. Yeah, people can sit down, and there are gardens behind the back, and the trees in the middle can create the whole shadow for the whole area. And I will put more parking lot near the entrance of metro for people to have more space, because I noticed that there are not enough parking space. So there are some bicycles, they're just everywhere, put carefully everywhere. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting. Yeah, I think that the area that you have chosen is, can be, a very, challenging area, because now the coast of Buenos Aires is the main, let's say, the main feature of the area. You just turn the perspective and you say that the square is the main feature of the area. So to me, it's a great idea. So, just transforming that square from, let's say, a coast of Buenos Aires oriented square to people oriented square. And
Yes.
if you are able to solve also the critic of the shadow, should be really great. So I think that the Comune di Milano will be very interested in your proposal.
So I'm gonna make more graphs to show that.
I'm very scared about your proposal. I don't know which one, or interested or scared about your proposal. Comune di Milano, I mean the...
Interested.
Okay.
Let's think about it positively.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. So who's the next now?
Yes.
Okay. How much time we have got? Okay, Pavani, be quick.
Okay. So I will share my screen. Sorry. Can you all see the full screen? Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. This is my midterm presentation, which is highly inspired from my past 1.5 or more or less time in Milan walking on the street, which most of the time I have chosen as a commute. And most of the time what I have noticed that Milan has very peculiar tree lines, but what is under those tree lines are quite striking in terms of car parks or the planter beds without vegetation, or some of the restricted areas in between, or in some cases car parks over the planter beds. So this was my earlier observations. Also, while doing this tree line surveys, I noticed this, which is common also in my area, which made me notice that, okay, there is something which needs to be addressed to enhance the tree lines, but we should also think of what is under the tree lines. So what I noticed that the parking area is not managed. The drainage and water management from sidewalk to planter beds and street is not very thoughtful. Unmanaged planter beds has a compacted soil, and potential green area cover is either it has an exposed soil or just the grass. So looking at the condition of pollution in Milan, which is air pollution, which is transferred in rainwater and to the soil, my proposal was to introducing phytoremediation technique in the planter beds for maintaining soil health and treating rainwater, which basically phytoremediation uses the plants to remove degrade or contaminants in soil and water. When integrated into planter beds, especially in urban settings, the strategy can improve stormwater management, soil health, and pollution control. Basically, in the whole area of Milan, I am in the area C, which is edge of the south of Milan, with the historic medieval city ring adjacent to the area. Here the red indicated streets are main primary streets, which are mostly double-sided commute connecting to other important streets. The blue are the secondary streets connecting to primary streets to the secondary neighborhoods, and the yellows are the intermediate diagonal streets, which are mostly one way. My area is urban patch between Porta Romana and Darsena, edge of the Darsena, which is oh really? Oh shit. Okay. Is it changing now? Mm, okay. Is this visible now? Okay. So, sorry guys, I did not know how that happened. Basically, these are the pictures throughout my past one year and 8 months living in Milan, walking on the streets, observing the street conditions, which is under the tree line. And this I already explained, so I don't want to go it again, looking at the time constraint. This is the street categorization. Red is the primary, blue secondary, and yellow tertiary. Based upon the hierarchy of the use and their connection, I divided them according to the categorization. Basically, my area is in the south of Milano, from Darsena to the edge of Porta Romana, which is adjacent to the historic medieval town of Milan boundary, and it hosts major streets connecting to the neighborhood of Milano to the city center. The area also has 2 major parks and very important historically installed tree lines, which are quite in a good, well-preserved conditions. For example, via Ordo Daro Tabacchi, via Carlo Vitadini, and via Beatrice de Este. The flower beds and the areas around the tree lines needs to be better managed for their longer and healthy preservation. This is the QGIS map of my area, which is highlighting the open areas, green park spaces, paved and non-porous surfaces of the street, and tree lines, which is right now not so strikingly visible. But the highlighted green area in a strip is this 3 street which I have taken for the consideration. One of the first tree line is via Odardo Tabacchi, which is planted with Platanus archifolia. Basically, the more or less the count of the tree has maintained well with the historic number. The parking area is not really managed, but the car parks are over the the planter beds, as I have drawn the section, and mostly they are used by the non-residential occupants in the neighborhood. The second street is via Roberto Sarfati, which is along the Bocconi University. The planter bed area, it is managed comparatively with the diversity of plants, but it is fenced, not approachable. And the area from the pedestrian way to the street is not on the same level, which which doesn't allow the rainwater to transform to the green areas instead of into the separate drainage line. And the third one is the edge of the park, which is kind of from the central area, which is uh, earlier part of the street, but now converted into non-traffic area. So it has asphalt and a combination of the compacted soil. The management of hard and soft pavement or surface is required. Basically, my whole area is consists of Platanus archifolia, which is very good with urban pollution tolerance, has a deep and extensive root system with the large canopy and high leaf biomass. It slows down the stone water runoff, and leaves are good for airborne pollutants. It has a fast growth and longevity. Seasonal leaf drop helps remediate the soil, and it is widely used in urban areas, adds cooling, has a good crown and the contextual presence. So basically, considering these aspects for the proposing the phytoremediation in the planter beds, which basically collected from pedestrian way and the street to the flowering beds, which hosts the phytoremediation plants, which enhance the biodiversity, makes walking on the street much more pleasant, works on a soil health, cleans the rainwater, which is going into the soil, and enhance the biodiversity. Pedestrian walkway right now is really wide, more than it's needed. So reducing it and making planter bed areas a little bit larger, and then rainwater from the street and the pedestrian way, which transferred into those planter beds for the treatment. And so this is the sketch showing the conceptual idea of the proposal. Yeah, so that's how I wanted to address what is below the tree lines. Thank you.
Thank you, Pavani.
Yeah.
That's, it is a very nice explanation on what can be the multifunctional of the greenery in the city. So, of course, we have to think to, the entire system of the green infrastructure acting like, a pollutant remove system. So to me, it is a very important issue, and I want also to put you in contact with some colleagues just to give you some advices on.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone. Today I will present my midterm presentation. So I will start with the historical observation and then get into my area and then street categorization and then the field survey. So for the history observation, we used the 3 books, which was from 1987 and then 2007. And then for 2024, we used the website to get the information. And for my area, I chose, my area is G, and I focused on Bicocca because of its transformation from post-industrial to vibrant mixed-use space, which is now having housing buildings, universities, monumental buildings, and also green urban spaces. So I wanted to see how the streets are in this area. And so the boundary of my study is in Bicocca and Signano and Nino, which is Signano and Signano is an area for residential space, and Bicocca is where like they have university and a housing, and it's like a mixed use space. And for my street categorization, for primary streets, the width is basically 20 meters or more, and it is highly used. And the example was like Viale Fulvia Testi, which is like the main roads. And then for secondary street, the width is like 12 to 20 meters. And also there are trams, buses, and also the example was like they are used for like local businesses, residents, and it connects to the main road. And for tertiary streets, it's less than 12 meters and mainly used for like private roads and like is connected to like housing. So this is my street categorization. And we can also see like in this, there are existing trees in primary, secondary roads. So for my proposal, I decided to go with Viale Sarka, which is this road, this street. This street stretches from Northern District to the heart of Bicocca area. And historically, it was a vital corridor for industrial activity, serving main access to Pirelli factory complex. Over time, the area has undergone substantial transformation, evolving from industrial hub to dynamic urban district, characterized by a blend of residential, commercial, university, schools, and cultural spaces. And so for my proposal, what I noticed was like the streets in here and here and here have continuous tree lines, but only in Viala Sarka there is no tree lines, and this street is highly used by public. And to get into these areas, we need to pass through Viala Sarka. So for my proposal, I was thinking to plant tree lines and create this continuous green corridor. And we can also notice that there are public parks in this street, but still there are no tree lines. So for my field survey, we went to the street and we went to the parks, and we noticed that some of the parks have tree lines, but they're discontinued, and they're also in a asphalt pedestrian way. And then where we also viewed the main road, and we realized that there are spaces to make tree lines, but still there are no tree lines. And some of the streets don't have buildings, so they don't have shades, and it's a very we could create like heat mitigation islands for creating shade. Yes.
Okay. First slideshow. Okay, so this is my proposal. I called the title of the project is "Follow Your Tree," like follow your heart, but instead we use a tree, and it's focused about discovering the monuments of Milano through a scope of a tree guide instead of the classical ways of discovering a place. In the introduction, I will talk a little bit about the dissertation idea and the concept. Then I will introduce the area with the location, categorization of the streets. And then I will show you a little bit about the surveys, the findings, and the GIS maps. Then I will go into the proposal on between Piazza del Duomo and Castello Sforzesco through Via dei Mercanti and Via Dante. So the dissertation, as I said, the title is "Follow Your Tree." I would like to reimagine finding your way around Milano out of the classical means, so not through GPS or maps or mobile application, but through following tree lines of a certain species of trees or a certain type of tree that links monuments or different parts of the city. It's mainly focused, since my study area is in Milano, but it can be applied outside the center of Milano. Here and okay. So it's about connecting the monuments and the attraction by trees. So moving from one attraction to the other through a certain street that is characterized by a certain tree species. The trees can be planted in rows, in clusters like islands or single trees, and it depends on what how much space a tree has to offer. The trees, I also thought of using some vegetation to frame certain views because it's part of the experience of the user. So it's not only a guide to link two monuments, but also to create certain viewpoints at in some areas that might be interesting. I also thought of including another layer of linkage in some very specific areas because it's a delicate matter, which is a linear water canals that go along these streets and paths, but we will see them as we go on with the presentation. Now, of course, in addition to the project mainly focuses on creating links and experience for the people, but this comes with a lot of ecosystem services, from providing shade and battling heat island effect, improving the quality of life in the center, and providing cleaning the atmosphere and all the eco services that come with vegetations and plants. For the concept, as I said, it's about moving from monument A to monument B, in which the first part shows this movement lacking any vegetation or minimal or basic vegetation, transforming it into something that is more guided through the types of trees. If you check the second diagram, that's basically the simplification, maybe oversimplification of the concept. As I said, there will be three ways of doing that: either by doing tree lines, by doing tree islands, or by placing single trees, and the water canals that go along these specific trees. And now we move on to introducing the area. This is the metropolitan city of Milan. We can see my area is the one highlighted in the center, quite big, but it's quite interesting. This is a more zoomed in scale of the study area. I highlighted some of the places so that you familiarize yourself with what's going on in the center. Of course, you probably know it since you live in the city, from the Duomo to the Arco della Pace and Corso Sempione. For the categorization of the streets, there are working in my area, I had to create two types of categorization. I refer to them as type A and type B. I will show you later on in the GIS maps how they differ from each other, but I will explain briefly here how they do or how they work. Type A, it contains they should contain tree lines, tree islands, or individual trees. So type A should have vegetation. It does not have to necessarily connect a monument to another. And it's important. It helped me understand the importance of trees in a city. And in my case, they are generally located on the boundary of the city center. Type B, they do not have to necessarily have trees or vegetation, but they must connect from one monument to another. It's important to understand the possibility of planting in a certain street and what kind of strategy I should follow, a line, island, or a single tree. And they are generally located within the center of the city. I had to do this also categorization because if I want to follow the concept of connecting monuments, I will have no trees in the streets. So I had to make type A to do some analysis of calculations for the surveys, and type B for the proposal of the project. As since there are two types, two categorization, there are two hierarchies of the streets. For type A, the hierarchy, which type A, which again is the street with the trees, the hierarchy depends on the condition of the, let's say, phytosanitary condition and the health of the trees in the streets. So primary streets have good phytosanitary with healthy trees. Secondary, they have average, and then tertiary could have no shrub layer or maybe very poor condition of the trees. Type B categorization of the streets has the hierarchy depending on what is being connected. So primary hierarchy for type B connects key monuments, for example, the Duomo with the Castello. Secondary, it connects less important monuments, and it also connects primary streets that it also connects one primary street to the other. Tertiary streets are mainly smaller networks of streets that worked to connect the secondary streets. So it's a buildup of connections in the hierarchy. Surveys and the findings. So the survey in the area, I found, if I haven't missed any, 690 streets, piazze and viales. Out of these 690 streets, only 108 streets have trees, and this is like counts about 15%. It's not counting the density of the trees in these streets. It's just saying that this street, that out of 690 streets, out of almost 700 streets, we have only 100 streets with vegetation. The trees are concentrated in parks and piazze most of the time, and on the boundary of the center. So I will show you the next map. It's going to be clearer. And generally, the streets, the street trees are in average and good condition. So there is good maintenance. The municipality or the people are trying to make their best to make these trees at least replace the trees or to try to make them survive the condition. This map, it shows the tree lines. So you can see how the tree line is basically located on the periphery of the center, of course, around Parco Sempione and the Corso Sempione. But in the center, it's almost devoid of any kind of vegetation. It's completely, as Professor told me last time, it's a mineralized center with almost no vegetation. This, on the other hand, is the not trees but green cover, and it's also evident that the center is much much mineralized than the surrounding. The two big green spots are the Parco Sempione and the Giardini Indero Montanelli. This helps understand what we are dealing with when we were working with the center of Milano. And this one is the hierarchy of the streets type A, which works on connecting the streets with the tree lines. So I think I should make this bigger, but anyways, type 1, such as Corso Sempione, Corso Cenizio, these have good phytosanitary conditions. And then as we go along, mainly on the boundary, because type A, I only followed the boundary of my area, since the center more or less does not have street trees. And this is the second categorization. The yellow dots are the monuments in the center, and then you can see how primary connects these monuments, and secondary works on connecting the primary, and tertiary even works on smaller connections within the city, within the streets. So it's a network of connections. So moving from Parco, from the Castello to the Duomo, you have a primary street that leads you into this, and this is what I'll be working on basically from the Castello to the Duomo. For the proposal, from Piazza del Duomo through Via dei Mercanti and Via Dante towards Castello Sforzesco, it's still a primary plan with some sketches, but this is the idea. So basically, going back through everything that I said, creating frames with vegetation, creating tree lines where the tree lines allow, or islands where there is space to create islands, and single trees if there is no space to do that. For example, here at this corner between the Duomo, the Piazza del Duomo and the street Via dei Mercanti, I thought it would be interesting to frame the Duomo within two vegetation types. I think I will ask. I need your approval on that, Professor. But I noticed something in Milano in June and July. It's you walk in the streets of Milano and then you smell a lot of jasmine. So I thought maybe it could be these framing elements could be this kind of vegetation, the jasmine vegetation, and because you can make it climb, so it can create vertical elements and still be pleasant for users. So anyways, I used this is one of the ways of using it to create frames. For example, the top right, the sketch is for the uh, Piazza dei Mercanti and the building related to it. The left bottom is for the Duomo, and the center sketch is taken in Via Dante, looking towards Castello. And in this street, I proposed a tree line on one side and replacing the existing pergolas for the restaurants with green pergolas, in which in which the value of the space can be enhanced, and then you will have greener streets. That's it so far for what I have.
You all see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so good morning, everyone. This is my proposal. I called this presentation a linear arc of green memory, and we will see shortly why. So this is the table of contents. I will talk about the urban memory through vegetation, which is my dissertation topic, the area of the project, of the proposer, how I categorize the streets, and then I will go more in detail with my street, so Via Foppa and the analysis, then the survey, and in the end, the proposal. So first of all, urban memory through vegetation. So the topic is, as I said, as the name can say, is very clear. So it's like investigating the evolution of 3 species, planting design, and green infrastructure policy in Milan. So Milan's urban landscape, historically, it's very layered. And by its layered architecture heritage and dense infrastructure grids, has long used vegetation as a device for urban transformation, identity building, and environmental management. From post-war reconstruction efforts to 21st century climate adaptation strategy, the city's approach to urban forestry reveals a shifting interplay between ecological priorities, socio-political agendas, and cultural narrative. The research explores how the selection of 3 species, planting design practices, and urban policy frameworks have evolved in Milan over the last several decades, and particularly in response to climate change, but also pollution, urban densification, and shifting aesthetic values. So by analyzing archival materials such as historical maps, planting plans, photographic documentation, and regulatory framework, this study aims to reconstruct a layered understanding of Milan's green corridors and have responded to external pressure, like, as I said, pollution, but also like diseases outbreaks. For example, the Dutch elm disease, the canker stain, and so on. So these disruptions have not only altered species composition, but also contributed to a fragmentation of this green memory, erasing historical identity in favor of short-term visual or functional solution. We can go deeper and analyze 3 main era of Milan. So Milan in 1927, the industrial city and its green spaces. In 1927, Milan was solidifying its status as Italy's industrial powerhouse. So the city's rapid urbanization prioritized industrial and residential development, often at the expense of green spaces. So these green areas were limited and primarily consisted of historic parks like Parco Sempione, and this park serves serving as remnants of aristocratic estates or military grounds. So the urban planning during this era lacked a cohesive strategy for integrating green spaces into the expanding city space. Moving on, Milan in 1959, in the post-war reconstruction, Milan was undergoing significant transformation in the wake of World War II. And the reconstruction period brought about a renewed interest in urban planning that included the integration of green spaces. And notable developments during this time included the Quartiere Triennale Ottava, for example, which was an experimental neighborhood initiated in the 1947, and Parco delle Basiliche, developed in the 1950s. This park transformed a previously neglected area into a green corridor connecting significant historical sites. Today, Milan today towards a sustainable and green urban landscape. In the contemporary era, Milan has embraced sustainability and green infrastructure as central to its urban development strategy. And key initiatives include, we have seen this before with my colleague, for example, Forestami project, aiming to plant 3 million trees by 2030, but also Green Race and Green Belt. Urban planning schemes designed to connect existing parks and create continuous green corridors throughout the metropolitan area. Despite these advances, challenges persist. A study by Systematica highlighted that over half of Milan's population resides in areas with limited access to green spaces, and underscoring the need for equitable distribution of greenery across all neighborhoods. So moving on with my area. My area is Area D, which is located in this part of Milan. The area boundaries as on the north, Corso Vercelli, you can see here, on the south, Viale Misurata, east, Viale Papignano, west, Porta Vercellina, and Porta Genova station, which is here, located here is the station. This area of Milan sits in quite strategic intersection between historic urban fabric and modern development, make it very unique testing ground for integrated ecological and social generation. I chose this area because, as we can see here in the GIS file, there are a lot of fragmented green infrastructure. There are also disconnected public spaces, and there is a great accessibility because there is also in Viale California the new Metro 4, so the blue line, but at the same time low livability. So it has, in my opinion, a great potential. In fact, a fragmentation of green means that there is the potential, the opportunity to create a linear ecological system, linking tree pits and parks. About the traffic-dominated spaces, we will see later that, in fact, most of my streets are full of cars, of parking cars. So about this, there is the opportunity to redesign streetscapes for slow mobility and green integration, and about the loss of vegetal memory, reintroduce historical species in contemporary resilient forms. About the street categorization, here we can see the red are the primary, yellow secondary, and green the tertiary streets all together. We can go one by one. So for the primary streets, I have Corso Vercelli, Via Andrea Solari, and others. And the criteria was that this, in my opinion, the primary streets are main traffic arteries, very wide and historically significant. For example, Corso Vercelli, but also Via Washington, and they connect large-scale urban nodes or key areas of the city. The secondary streets, in my case, are much more, and are connector roads between neighborhoods. So, and they are moderate traffic, often mixed use, so residential and commercial. And tertiary streets are the most in my area, are small, located often residential or service roads, very low traffic, intimate scale, and fragmented green potential. So moving on to my streets, Via Foppa. So Via Foppa is located here, as you can see, and I chose this street because it's one of the primary streets. I chose this street because I thought that it was very interesting. While, as we saw before, the challenges was this fragmentation of green spaces. So I thought that using this street to connect the rest of the city with Giardinetti di Via Dezza and Parco Solari could be a great opportunity. So I chose this street. Via Foppa is characterized by a striking botanical uniformity, apparently. The overwhelming majority are almost pumila, even though if recently there was a new project in this street made for, of course, the new metro line. So a part of, but we will see later when we will talk about the survey, there is a part of the city that is very old and another one which is very new, because there was like this new project, and they put new species like Deuteria paniculata and Tilia cordata. So they were planted, but after more than that, the majority of the trees are almost pumila. So the species dominance, so through the analysis done on Excel, I can see that nearly all trees are almost pumila and are planted over a long time span, so from the 1940s to recent years. The leaf contribution, the mature elms contribute significantly to urban cooling and shading, with some individuals showing leaf area exceeding 20 meters square. The structural diversity, despite the species homogeneity, there is variability in age and size. So some trees have crown diameters of wide as 11 meters and heights up to 22 meters. And as ecological implications, the reliance on a single species makes the venue vulnerable to pests and diseases, yet the presence of large healthy species make it like a good potential value of strategic conservation. Here is a brief scheme of 70s. There was a big boom of public works under the Piano Fanfani and warfare area. So city pushes for urban greenery. So first there was this first systematic planting of Ulmus pumila, chosen for fast growth and low maintenance. And this was the start kind of the green identity of Via Foppa. In the 90s, the ulmus reached maturity but show sign of decay and overpruning. No major replaning, canopy begins to thin, and it was in this area that a lot of ulmus pumila were cut and replaced by platanus. And in the 20s, this happened again with most elms removed, and 25 London plants introduced in 27 are now gone due to diseases. I wanted also to mention that in Via Foppa here, under it, there's still we can still chase the ghost of Olona, which was a river in the 1880 was a river in Milan, and now it's not visible anymore, but there is under Via Foppa this small fraction of his ghost. So I wanted to mention it. So the survey. So we went on the spot, and what we saw is that first of all, Via Foppa doesn't have an identity anymore, because walking through Via Foppa, 1, 2, and 3, so this is the end of Via Foppa, we can see it's like going through three different streets of Milan, three completely different streets of Milan. So there is not a cohesive identity of Via Foppa anymore. This, as you can see, is much more new, and this is probably one of the new species planted for the new project. They made also here a new bike lane, but we commented that the layout could be better because here is the car, there is the road, then the flower bed, the trees, and then the bike lane, again the green, and then the pedestrian sidewalks, which can be probably the layout of the streets can be bettered, and we could yes, and then we also commented how here in this part, which is like this is the old part of the street here, we also commented how you can see here how many cars there are parked under the trees and on the flower bed. So the streets, the ground was very was broken, was not managed. The trees, the roots of the trees were not managed, of course, because the pressure of the cars on the ground was not helping the tree to grow healthy. So we had also this type of problem, and this is the new flower beds that they made here, basically a little bit maybe before this photo, but you can see here the new flower bed, and here is visible this kind of steel panel of probably 10 centimeters.
Really a blade.
Yeah, blade. Sorry, exactly, blade, which was exactly designed here, and didn't make any sense because then when it rains, it's impossible for the water to go in the flower beds. So this was also something that we commented on. So my proposal, coming back to my proposal, is first of all. A linear arc of green memory. Why? The proposal aims to transform Via Foppa from a car-dominated street into a linear park corridor, a linear park corridor that reclaims space for ecology, pedestrians, and memory. Why memory? The concept begins from these two photos of Basilico, which is a great photographer, Italian photographer, and he took this photo in the 1995, so not very long ago. But you can see this is Via Foppa, and it's a completely different vibe. It's a completely different street from what we saw here, basically. And I was inspired by Gabriele Basilico photography for the identity of Via Foppa. I was thinking that we can aim for a calm, minimal, rhythmical space, as we can see here, the repetition of trunks, shadows, and perspective, soft transition between built and natural, and urban calmness. So a street that slows you down. And you can see here that there are very few cars, and it's only 1995, so not long ago. And it's a completely different atmosphere, completely different identity. So this is the concept. Moving on to design moves. First of all, I wanted to eliminate most of on-street parking to reclaim surface area. So we can see here, for example, this is the sidewalk, then the tree line, and then here and also here there are parkings. So I wanted to take all this area for the flower bed and the trees, and the rest here should be an area for the sidewalks for pedestrian, and at the same time also bicycle lane. I think I need to hurry up, so I will be quick. So enlarge existing tree pits and merge them into a continuous planted strip. Redesign the street section, we can see it here, as road, green strip with trees and also seating, and cycle lane and pedestrian sidewalk. So this should be the new layout. At the same time, connect also the intervention directly to Parco Solari and Via Dezza's gardens, making it a green infrastructure link. About the rain, we can see it here, but also here it's a bit zoomed. For the rain, I wanted it to make a little slope between the sidewalk, the streets, and the linear park, so we can also create maybe a rain, kind of a rain garden. And then about the planting strategy, use Ulmus pumila as the primary species because it pays tribute to Foppa's elm legacy and it's very resistant to diseases, structure canopy, ideal for linear rhythm. And of course, also add understory planting such as grasses, bulbs, rain-friendly perennials and to enhance biodiversity and seasonality. And thank you very much. This was my presentation.